Hello everyone, let's talk about Redux. Redux, it's called state management. Not only Redux, we have a couple of things over here. Traditionally, we used to have a Redux. Then after that, Redux Toolkit launched. It is more easy and comprehensive way to manage the state. It is typically used for global state management. First of all, let's talk about the theory, right? What theory says about Redux? What do you mean by Redux? As for me, I see Redux toolkit is a set of utilities designed to streamline the use of Redux. Like that, I can also explain the theories. Yeah, this might be the perfect theory for Redux. Just a moment. Can you look at the screen, right? What Redux tells? It is Redux toolkit is a set of utilities designed to streamline the use of Redux. Why Redux? For global state management. A predictive state management library for JavaScript application primarily used with React. So most of the people use this Redux with React, right? There are a couple of other library Vue.js, such as Vue.js, other libraries there, but Redux is primarily used for React for global state management. Without Redux, context API also used for state management, but Redux is more powerful and easy to manage the state. That's why a lot of companies are using Redux. Okay, so let's talk about core theory. What is core theory of Redux? What do you mean by core theory of Redux? So Redux is based on three fundamental principles that governs in its state management. So as for that, three fundamental principles that governs state, its state is better, right? It's a state management approach. So if you talk about Redux, right, there has to be a core fundamental aspect. So to govern the Redux, to operate the Redux. So first of all, I'd like to tell that single source of truth. So first fundamental aspect is single source of truth. So this is the first fundamental aspects I would call maybe approach, right? So single source of truth. What do you mean by single source of truth? The entire state of your application is stored in a single JavaScript object called store. So the decentralized state management, making it easier to track and debug. So let me paste the documentation over here so I could let you easily understand what it is. So let me look what this first definition tells. Single source of truth means the entire state of your application is stored. Here you can see. Let me make it more clear. So look, single source of truth means the entire state of your application is stored in a single JavaScript object. You know, like how objects are stored in key value pairs called the store. So we have to aware of the store. If we are using Redux means first of all we need to aware of store. So what this store does, this is centralized state management, making it easier to track and debug. I mean to say that there is a central repository for managing the state or their associate information. So we can call it from everywhere, right? Store means we have a lot of information kept over there. Like if we go and visit in a store, right? Suppose bakery store, there are a lot of things that are stored. So as per the user recall it, so we get it, right? So we call store for storing the state information or maybe some other information which is needed. So another aspect, state is read only. So there is another theory tells that state is read only. So what do you mean by state is read only? The only way to modify the state is by dispatching an action. If we are dispatching an action, then only we can modify the state. Other than that, we are not able to modify the state. So we can call it at which is a plain JavaScript object describing what happens. Example, if we give type, increment, payload 1, right? This ensures predictable states updates. So let me give you the theory for this one also. Just a moment. So this is the theory. We can keep it for this second theory of Redux. So state is read only, means the only way to modify the state is by dispatching an action. If you are dispatching some action through client side, then only we can able to modify the state. So what do you mean by these things? Dispatching an action which a plain JavaScript object describing what happened. Example, type, if we give type increment payload 1, means this ensures predictable state updates and all. There is third one, right? I call it core theory of Redux, 3 fundamentals. So what is another one? Changes are made with pure reducer functions. So we talk about reducers. Let me paste these things. Let me make little bigger. Let me paste this one also. So what it tells, look, this is the third point. This one is the third point. What this point tells, changes are made with pure reducer functions, means we have certain changes, right? So those changes, how we can make, means reducer function, we need to create a reducer functions in order to change. Means reducers are nothing but it's a pure function that takes the current state and an action as in input and return a new state. Understand? Reducer, what reducer does, it takes state and action as an input and return a new state. The deterministic, meaning the same sample input always produce the same output, ensuring predictability. So let me give you the definition along with this statement here, okay, so that we can easily understand. I mean to say, look, so we can this is what the core definition. Changes are made with pure reducer functions. Reducers are nothing but it's a pure function that takes the current state. We talk about state and with actions as an input and return a new state. Means according to the state here, if we have to go through reducers. So reducers take that state and action and give a new state. The deterministic, meaning the same input always produce the same output, ensuring predictability. So these are the core what do you call, these are the core theory of Redux, and here core, these are the core 3 fundamental principles. I mean to say 3 fundamental principles. There is this principle enforce an unidirectional data flow. So what this principle does, so another things I would like to discuss about, just a moment, another thing I would like to discuss about what this principle does. This principle does or enforce a unidirectional data flow, means there is a one directional, they are not multi-directional, from one state to unidirectional, means going from state, actions, reducer, stores. So this kind of things, let me refine for better understand what do you mean by unidirectional. So there is unidirectional. Let me, I should consider first point as state, describe the entire application state, and second point I would like to call it as actions. So first you define state, second you define actions, right? So let me define third one, there is reducers. So first is state, then actions, then reducers, then finally there is a things. where we make a store, there we register in a store. There, this is the fourth point I should call it. So let me again explain you these four principles. First, state. Describe the entire application state. So you mean to say, you know React state, right? So it describe the entire application state. So second one is actions. Dispatch to indicate and intend to change the state. So we have a certain actions. So that actions intend to change the state. So if you are changing statements, we need to go or reach to actions, right? So what reducer? Process the action and returns a new state. So this reduces process the actions. So look the relations. This reducer process the action, this actions returns a new state. So what store does? Store holds the state and notifies subscribers. Example, React components for changes, kind of things it does. So we are not supposed to forget these four things, these principles, which are meant to unidirectional data flow in Redux. See, state, describe the entire application. State actions, dispatch to indicate and intended to change the state. Reduces, processes the action and returns a new state. Stores, hold the state and notifies subscribers. Okay. So challenges, maybe there are a lot of challenges, right? I would like to also include challenges. So let me boilerplate. Let me also explain you some challenges. Okay. Just a moment. I'd like to address some challenges. Challenges with vanilla Redux. There is something is there. So I would not going to I am not going to explain the challenges. So we talk about just Redux today. Okay. This is enough for theories. So thank you so much for part 1. So we'll explain Redux toolkit in next session. Thank you very much. Or maybe we have a practical of those things over here. You could see, right, how this works. State, action, reducer and store. So we will deep dive into these four things or make simple application. Then we move on to the Redux toolkit, how this Redux toolkit override and make more easy. Thank you so much.